This is the low carbohydrate nutrition education video for the research study at the COVID Recovery Unit at Keck Medicine of the University of Southern California. Thank you for participating in this clinical study. The goal of this study is to find out whether diet and lifestyle changes are beneficial in patients suffering from long COVID symptoms. You are being asked to change your diet and lifestyle for the next 30 days, and also use a medical food during this time. The medical food, KetoCitra, will be provided to you in your study kit. In this video, we will guide you on the recommended diet and lifestyle changes, so you can do them on your own. You may be wondering how to use this video. Here are 4 tips. Tip 1. This video will always be available to you during this study. Tip 2. Feel free to watch it as many times as you like, and come back to it often. Tip 3. Watch it with your family members and friends so that they can better support you. Tip 4. Turn on the subtitles by clicking the CC button to help you catch all the details. What are the goals of the diet and lifestyle changes? The main goal of the changes is to switch your body's metabolism to be less dependent on carbohydrates. But what are carbohydrates, also called carbs, anyway? Carbs are one of the 3 macronutrients that we get from our food and drink. The 3 macronutrients are carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. A typical Western diet is very high in carbohydrates. Usually over 50% of the energy we get from food and drink is in the form of carbs. One goal of this study is to reduce the amount of carbs as much as possible, but we do not set a particular number as the goal. As you reduce your carb intake, you may need to increase your intake of fats and proteins accordingly. Another goal of this study is to find out how easy it is for patients with long COVID to reduce their carb intake. We want you to try your very best for the next 30 days, and tell us your experience. These pie charts show examples of the percentages of the 3 macronutrients, typically found in high-carb versus low-carb diets. In a high-carb diet, 35% of your calories come from fats, 15% come from proteins, and 50% come from carbs. In a low-carb diet, 70% of your calories come from fats, 20% come from proteins, and 10% come from carbs. Our bodies use the carbs we eat and turns them into blood sugar. Eating too many carbs can cause high levels of blood sugar. Any extra carbs that we eat, but do not need, are converted by our bodies into fat. The fat is stored in our body fat. Eating excess carbs can therefore also make us overweight or obese. A goal of this study is to reduce the carb intake so that your body will be able to lower its blood sugar level, and also start burning off your body fat. Did you know there are different kinds of carbs? Not all carbs are the same. Some carbs are worse than others, and cause your blood sugar levels to rise the most. You can find information on the types of carbs on the nutrition facts panel printed on food labels like in this example. Total carbohydrates refers to the amount of all carbs added together in one serving of the food or beverage. Dietary fiber refers to the amount of fiber in the product. Total sugars refers to the total amount of sugars, which includes added sugars plus natural sugars. Added sugars refers to the amount of added sugars only. We are asking you to reduce your carb intake in order of priority as explained in the next slides. Your top priority is to manage your sugar intake. Sugar in foods and drinks causes the biggest rise in blood sugar levels. There are different types of sugar, including added sugar and natural sugar. First, let's learn about added sugar. Many foods and drinks contain added sugars. You can find them listed on the Nutrition Facts panel under the category, Added Sugars. For example, on the sample nutrition facts panel found on the slide, outlined in purple, there are 11 grams of added sugar. Added sugars can be ordinary table sugar, but there are also many other kinds such as high fructose corn syrup. We want you to avoid foods and drinks that contain added sugars as much as possible. This is your top priority. Second, let's learn about natural sugars. Natural sugars are those sugars that are naturally in whole foods. For example, many fruits contain large amounts of natural sugar. This is why they are naturally sweet. You can calculate the amount of natural sugar by subtracting the amount of added sugars from the amount of total sugars. For example, on the sample nutrition facts panel found on the slide, outlined in blue, subtract the total sugars, 18 grams, from the added sugars, 11 grams, which equals 7 grams of natural sugar. We want you to restrict the foods and drinks that contain natural sugars. Consume them very mindfully in small quantities. Third, let's learn about starches. Many plant food ingredients contain starch, like potatoes, corn, grains, rice, and many others. Starch is a long chain of sugar molecules that are all stuck together. This allows plants to store large amounts of sugar. Our body digests the starch back into sugar. Therefore, eating starch will also raise your blood sugar level. Unfortunately, the amount of starch is not directly listed on food labels. However, you can calculate the amount of starch using the following equation: total carbohydrate minus dietary fiber minus total sugar equals starch. For example, on the sample nutrition facts panel found on the slide, outlined in orange, subtract the total carbohydrates, 24 grams, minus dietary fiber, 5 grams, minus total sugars, 18 grams, which equals 1 gram of starch. Because starches make up a huge portion of carbohydrates in many foods in the Western diet, we want you to reduce the amount of starchy foods as much as you can. Fourth, let's learn about dietary fiber. Even though dietary fiber is included under the category total carbohydrate on food labels, it is okay to eat as much fiber as you like. For example, on the sample nutrition facts panel found on the slide, outlined in green, there are 5 grams of dietary fiber. The reason is because fiber is not digested by our body and therefore does not raise the blood sugar level. We do not want you to restrict the amount of fiber in your diet. You are encouraged to increase the amount of fiber you consume as much as you like. You may be wondering what you should eat instead of carbohydrates. We are providing you with a shopping list of food and beverage items that we recommend to use while you are in this study. This is not a mandatory list, but should give you a good idea about the foods and beverages that you can use. Please try to consume items from this list as much as possible during the 30 days of this study. To get started, follow these 4 steps. Step 1 is to get your household members on board if possible. It is easier to do the diet and lifestyle changes if you don't have to do them alone. The recommended changes should be beneficial for almost anyone. Let your family support you by eating the same foods that you do. Step 2 is to clear out your fridge and pantry. Identify all your foods and beverages that are high in carbohydrates, and either discard them or give them away. It is easier to stick to your new diet if you do not have high-carb foods and beverages around the house that can tempt you. Step 3 is to go shopping. Use the provided shopping list. It is best to buy more whole foods and fewer processed foods. Before you buy any items, double-check the food labels to make sure that there are no hidden carbs. Step 4 is find inspiration. There are many websites and YouTube channels dedicated to low-carb lifestyles. You will be able to find many recipes and helpful tips. Enjoy your new foods. How do I reduce sugars in my beverages? Stop drinking any beverages with sugar, including sodas, juices, smoothies, and sugary coffee shop drinks. Instead, try to drink mostly water, still or fizzy. Moderate amounts of coffee and tea are okay. Instead of milk and sugar in your coffee/tea, try using heavy cream and natural sweetener, such as stevia, monk fruit, or erythritol. The medical food, KetoCitra, that will be provided to you is a lemonade-flavored drink. You can dilute KetoCitra with as much water as you like, and use as a tasty drink for much of the day. How do I reduce sugars in my food? Read the food labels, and only buy foods with low sugar content. Avoid any sweets, candy, chocolate, and desserts. Many grocery stores offer sugar-free alternatives to common products. For example, sugar-free ketchup, sugar-free snack bars, and many more. Use natural sweeteners in your kitchen like stevia, monk fruit, and erythritol. Do not use artificial sweeteners, such as aspartame or sucralose. If you want some sweets, buy only sugar-free products, with natural sweeteners. Avoid most fruits, or eat them only in very small portions. Instead, you can eat small amounts of berries. Consider them a treat, not a staple. How do I reduce starch from foods? Avoid the staple foods that are the highest in starch, such as pasta, bread, rice, potatoes, cereals, pastries, and chips. Read the food labels and only buy foods with a low content of net carbs. Net carbs are the total carbs, minus the dietary fiber. As you decrease your intake of starchy foods, find replacements that are higher in protein, fat, and fiber. What about alcohol? We recommend to reduce your alcohol consumption. If you want to drink alcohol, limit the drinks containing carbs, such as beer and some cocktails. Instead, drink, in moderate amounts, dry red or white wine, and spirits such as whiskey, vodka, and tequila. What about eating out? Eating out, either in a restaurant or when visiting friends, can be a challenge, but here are some tips. For the next 30 days, try to eat less often in restaurants and cafeterias. Instead, eat at home or bring your own foods to work. When eating out, choose low-carb dishes. Salads and meats are usually okay. Ask the waitstaff to modify your dish. For example, ask for leafy greens instead of rice or a bun. When eating with friends, tell them about your new diet and make it a fun challenge to eat low-carb dishes together. Bring your favorite dish to share. When should I eat? Let's learn about time-restricted eating. Most of us are used to eating all day long, from breakfast after we wake up, to a late-night snack before we go to sleep, with many meals and snacks in between. To give you the maximum benefit of your low-carb diet, we strongly recommend to reduce the time window during which you eat. The goal is to only eat during an 8-hour period every day, and fast for the remaining 16 hours. This is called 16 to 8 time-restricted eating. For example, you can do this by skipping breakfast or dinner. For example, you can eat your first meal at 11 a.m. and finish eating dinner by 7 p.m. Tip: you do not have to accomplish a strict 8-hour eating window immediately. Start with a 12-hour window and subtract an hour every few days after you have gotten used to it. What is the medical food, KetoCitra? KetoCitra was originally developed for the dietary management of individuals with kidney disease, to support their low-carb lifestyle. It is a non-prescription medical food that is to be taken under medical supervision. KetoCitra contains the ketone, beta-hydroxybutyrate, BHB, in a blend with citric acid, and the minerals, potassium, calcium, and magnesium. BHB is normally produced by our liver during periods of low carbohydrate availability, such as when we are fasting. Under these low carbohydrate conditions, the normal role of BHB is to replace blood sugar, as the main energy source for the cells in our body. Taking KetoCitra is intended to help support your low-carb diet by providing energy in the form of BHB. BHB also has additional beneficial effects, such as reducing inflammation. How do I take KetoCitra? KetoCitra is a ready-to-mix powder that makes a lemonade-flavored drink when mixed with water. Twice per day, shake or stir vigorously, 1 rounded scoop, which is approximately 6.5 grams of KetoCitra, with 8 to 16 ounces of water, and drink slowly during 1 hour or more, and preferably with a meal. Once reconstituted, any unused mixture should be refrigerated and consumed within 24 hours. On your first day of taking KetoCitra, you should assess your tolerance by using only half the serving size, only half of 1 rounded scoop, which is approximately 3.3 grams twice per day. If you tolerate KetoCitra well, you can take the full serving size starting the next day. In case of gastrointestinal discomfort or any other signs of intolerance, reduce the serving size, or discontinue the use of KetoCitra, and contact the study team. Tip: it is okay to dilute KetoCitra with more water, or to use warm or cold water, still, or fizzy, as you prefer. Tip: it is okay to mix with other flavorings if you prefer. For example, some users like to add matcha tea powder or hibiscus tea. Feel free to experiment. When do I take KetoCitra? It is best to take KetoCitra with a meal twice per day, like during breakfast and dinner times. If you are skipping breakfast or dinner, it is okay to take KetoCitra by itself. Some users feel that KetoCitra helps them by providing a sense of satiety during fasting, like in the morning if you skip breakfast. For further information, click on the links below. From Diet Doctor. The first link is a guide to a low-carb diet for beginners. The second link is a video explaining how to start a low-carb diet. If you have further questions about low-carb diets, please reach out to the study staff. Thank you for watching, and good luck on your low-carb journey.